Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm Chris and today we are going to make crude bases, jungle mushroom style, or more like swampy thingies. Anyway, green and orange. Cheers! Anita went to the shop, she bought some mushrooms, washed them, cut them and baked them. I'm kidding, of course. To make bases, I use digital mushrooms from SGAT Rising. On the other hand, digital branches I took from Epic Basing. The original size files are very big. To make the mushroom fitting the base, I rescaled it by around 400% to be very small. After optimizing the orientation of model, I export it and put it on the software of my printer. I am adding the support and multiplying the mushroom. A lot of mushroom, a lot. At first I have to make bases. I stick fake rock and some branch. I want cover every hole, so I use acrylic modeling paste. I put it everywhere I want. When the effect satisfying me, the base is ready to paint. Since I plan to use vivid, bright colors, I choose a white primer, apply it with an airbrush. As a base color, I use the most glowing orange color I had, green stuff word Candy Ink, diluted 1:1 with Vallejo Flow Improver. It is better to apply the paint in series of thin layers instead of one thick layer. This will give you control over the process and smoother color transitions. Before applying yellow, I put on a bit of white to make it possible. It's because yellow paint has poor coverage. Now, it's the time to apply the yellow on the top of mushrooms. From the bottom of the model, I apply a thin layer of Liquitex Burnt Siena diluted with Flow Improver. I make sure that the paint is applied only in the shadows. To achieve a green, swampy surface, I use Fluor Green, which I apply without dilution in several thin layers. I choose as saturated colors as possible. The aim is to have an eye-catching, bright bases to contrast with cooler, more subdued crude on the bases. To give variety to the swamp, I applied diluted inks that I usually use to color epoxy resin. It came out average. I wouldn't do it a second time in the future. These inks are far too sticky for the job. Shades from GW range would be better. I used the same inks to separate the branches by color, but as the previous situation, the shades would be much better, or contrast paints. It is useful to use low opacity paints to keep some of the paint texture of the branches intact. Now, the yellow mixed 1:1 with white paint and Flow Improver to lighten the brightest areas of the mushrooms. A touch of light orange, this time not candy ink but a matte paint. The most important thing is a very diluted paint with Flow Improver and a well-cleaned airbrush nozzle to ensure a thin, transparent layer of the paint. The colors are applied at an angle so as not to hit the space behind them. You need to be careful. Now the black paint to give additional shading to the wood. As always, at this video, thin down to build up a volume with translucent colors. A dab of Vallejo yellow-green paint diluted 1:1 with water. This is not a very important step, but each successive layer, provided it is diluted and carefully applied, builds up the volume and adds to the final result. I paint the side of the base with surface primer, using an angle slightly away from the bottom of the base, so that only the side plus small pieces placed on the lowest places on the base are hit. This step can be dangerous because lack of experience can easily destroy all the previous steps. I make the surface of the toxic swamp with the use of the toxic spill effect from the modeler's world. At first, I thought that I would never use this effect, as it seemed too intense and impractical to me, but recently I liked it a lot. It makes about an hour to dry and easily to apply. Much easier than resins and similar PVA-based preparations. As the final effect, after sticking the crude, I apply moss effect. Very interesting paint, but also expensive one. However, I think it's worth the price. I recommend using a synthetic brush because this preparation easily damages the bristles. It can be mixed with water to create a fine transition.